What's going on, everybody, and welcome to No World Order Podcast IG Live Edition. Today is August 25th, 2020, and we are coming to you from hot-ass San Diego, California. I'm your host, Drew.
I'm Zach, and we decided to have it in a small, very hot location just to add to it.
With no air ventilation.
It's like Bikram yoga, but like Bikram podcasting. It's the new San Diego thing.
That hot yoga, just hot conversations.
Just slipping everywhere.
So it works out, but it's a little hot, and it kind of is what it is. But today we have kind of an episode that has kind of escaped us. I've called it cursed. It's been cursed. Like we've tried getting it done ever since the week after Quest Haven. Yeah, and then then some like current event stuff happened, so we decided to go with that. You weren't available last week.
Yeah.
And now here we are. So why don't you kind of introduce this topic?
Yeah, so I like to start with how I became aware of these things. And this place, the Rosicrucian Church in Oceanside, is right by my old middle school. It's right by Jefferson. Holler, Jefferson Middle. I know there's some of you out there. But like, it was kind of one of those things where your classmates would be like, oh yeah, it's haunted. Oh, it's creepy. Like, there's a witch that lives there. And you're like, oh shit, really? Like, oh, that's crazy. And then, I didn't really think about it, didn't really care. But then I got a little bit older. I think I was like 18. And I was like, you know what? I should look into this shit. This is weird. It's right here in our town. No one seems to know exactly what's going on. There was a handful of times where I'd end up there like drunk in the middle of the night with some friends just because we wanted to check it out because it was creepy. Didn't really get anywhere until I started actually reading about it. And years later, I don't know what, 15 years later, now that I know more about the world and the occult and Christianity and mysticism, now it sets off all sorts of red flags. So I brought it to the table. Quest Haven reminded me of it greatly, and I think there's some stuff that overlaps that everyone's going to kind of realize and see.
There is, I will say, I didn't notice, maybe you did, I didn't notice any of that Native American ties or that gypsy culture ties, but maybe I just wasn't looking hard enough. But as far as the teachings and all of that, there's clearly a similarity between Quest Haven and this Rosicrucian Fellowship, which was, let's get into it, was founded in 1909 by Max Heindel with the aim of heralding the Aquarian age and promulgating the true philosophy of the Rosicrucians. It claims to present esoteric Christian mysteries or esoteric knowledge alluded to in Matthew 13:11 and Luke 8:10. And I kind of wanted to go over those verses real quick just to kind of have an understanding of what they're kind of alluding to. So the first one, Matthew 13, stated, where did it go? And why is it not here anymore?
They're trying to derail us.
Dude, that is
trying
crazy.
To keep us down.
That's so crazy.
It was funny to me that in that first little description, they talk about how they're all about the age of Aquarius, because I hear that reflected so many different ways in so many different settings.
So it says, Matthew 13:11, he replied, the knowledge of the mysteries of the kingdom of heaven has been given to you, but not to them. Then also in Luke 8:10, it says, he said, the knowledge of the secrets of the kingdom of God has been given to you, but to others I speak in parables, so that though seeing they may not see, though hearing they may not understand.
Yep, that sounds like people I know.
So it's kind of interesting how they can kind of pick two verses out of the whole Bible and kind of branch out and make their whole separate religion. But
that's what it feels like, for sure.
Yeah. Well, that's what it's based on. That's what it said. It's based off of these two verses. This is kind of what founded the start of this whole mysticism, kind of esoteric type religion.
Which is funny because I've recently read a little bit about Christian Science, and it almost sounds like they're barking up the same tree.
Yeah.
So for one to claim mysticism and one to say science, there's some overlapping there too.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, it's super weird, and this is shit that I stayed away from heavily when I was younger. I was very into church, very into going to church. I brought up Episcopalian, which is like Catholic light. Like, you know, we read the Bible, we love God, but like
I laugh every time you say Catholic light.
I got it from Robin Williams.
Like
Rest in peace. Yeah,
funny.
like all the same religion, half the restrictions. Like our priests can get married. We drink at church functions. Like whatever.
Yeah.
You know, just be a good Christian. You're good. You can have a beer.
So this says the Rosicrucian Fellowship conducts spiritual healing services and offers correspondent courses in esoteric Christianity, philosophy, spiritual astrology, and Bible interpretation.
I love that. They're basically saying, yeah, we talk about the Bible and we kind of just draw our own conclusions from it. Which, like, I mean, to an extent, the Bible is a collection of stories to live your life by. But you don't want to take that and run in the completely wrong direction, which...
They're taking my voice, man.
I know, dude. I'm your host now.
Seriously.
So it was weird. I stayed away from this shit a lot growing up. When I was like 18, 19, 20, I started to realize all the world religions kind of sounded the same. Thor, Superman, all that shit kind of sounded the same. Started to delve into it. And now I think I'm in a place where I can safely learn what these guys are doing without getting drawn into it, because it is very appealing, quite honestly, for someone who has any sort of a religious background or spiritual background or is interested in fucking magic or whatever. Yeah. It can come off very appealing. It also was the first place that I learned about the religious triangle of Oceanside. Which back in the day when I was like 19, what was that, 14 years ago? It wasn't as easy to find all this information about it. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like you had to piece it together like you do now, but it wasn't as accessible. Now online, I see it referred to as the spiritual triangle of Oceanside, but I like religious triangle. It sounds a little less, it sounds a little more honest to me. But to the west, which is what we're talking about here, the Rosicrucian Church lays on a hill. If you've passed the 76 in Oceanside up and down Palomar Airport, it's that big looking church on the hill. To the north,
which is called Mount Ecclesia.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which, stick a pin in that word because we're going to come back to that. Yeah. Then just north of the 76, there's a Prince of Peace Benedictine Abbey, which I don't know a whole lot about other than that it's Roman Catholic and it came up in the late 50s. I think 58 is when it was built. That side of the 76 is like nothing to me. It's like Capistrano, and then there's a junkyard, and that's all I really know. Or a tow yard, I guess. But it's over there. Never been, don't know much about it. But then, of course, to the east, there's the Mission San Luis Rey de Francia. Mission San Luis Rey. Most of the people that live close or in North County probably went there on a field trip when they were in elementary school. Yeah, or had to make a mission back in the day. That was fun. Which everyone's a little more familiar with the missions and
that mission
San
building.
Junipero.
Oh,
I loved it. Side note,
I just hated school.
Did you? So. My dad was a corpsman, and so when it came time to build a mission, he brought the stuff that they make casts out of home. And and so like it was hard as rock. My mission was banging.
Nice.
But
I always just procrastinated on things, and I definitely had my dad help me with that.
Yeah.
But
same.
It was super last minute, so it wasn't quality. Yeah, I just hated school, so it was just
Well, school sucks. You have good reason.
Exactly.
Stay in school, kids. Just kidding. Don't.
Just distance learning.
Distance learning. Don't go to school. So that's a religious triangle of Oceanside. And I say that because we see the triangle repeated in spirituality and religion and occultism. Yeah. And it's interesting that three so very big pieces of religion are so very close in Oceanside. What's the significance of Oceanside? Was it just, well, the weather's good out here, whatever. We don't want to be down by the port. We want to be up here. Very interesting.
It is. So did you want to get into the Mount Ecclesia or?
Yeah. So we kind of talked about where it is, and you talked about and they also offer esoteric Christianity classes, which I'm like super interested in, but I'm afraid I'm going to come back with a demon on my shoulder.
Yeah.
So
stick a pin in that because we'll get into that a little bit later.
Dude. It's insane. Like I knew this was going to be deep, but then I started digging. I was like, "Oh my god, this is like we could stretch it to 3 episodes."
Yeah, exactly. I was like, "Holy shit!" Like how do we even cover all of this in 1 hour? I mean, we're definitely not going to be able to because it runs.
Yeah.
I was gonna be like, okay, let's go like take some stuff off their website, and then I started reading more. I was like, whoa, there's so much here. Started doing some more research. I was like, oh, whoa, and then who is this person?
Who
and
is
then,
that?
like I said, that person we'll get to who
The
kind of
teacher.
has ties. Yeah, the teacher of it all. Yeah, we'll get into that. But Mount Ecclesia was dedicated on October 28, 1911. It's the location of the international headquarters of the Fraternal and Service Organization, the Rosicrucian Fellowship, located on the grounds in Oceanside, California.
Whoop, whoop.
It is also the location of its spiritual temple called the Ecclesia. So is that what you're talking about? So that's the actual building as well?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
their spiritual
Gotcha.
temple is called the Ecclesia,
And it's upon Mount Ecclesia.
correct,
Got it.
correct,
Got
and
it.
that was all from Max Heindel.
Yes.
He was the puppet of the visionary, the teacher.
Yeah.
But yeah, so and what's interesting about that is the word ecclesia comes from Greek, from ancient Greek language.
Uh-huh.
And I don't know if you found any of this, but in digging, I found references to the Greeks quite a bit, like a few different times. But a few of the definitions, because I looked it up, what ecclesia means.
Yeah.
A collective body of Christian believers regarded as constituting a universal church. Which, if that doesn't sound like Christian mysticism, I don't know what does.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the other meanings were a church or congregation. All right, pretty more straightforward. And then one that also piqued my interest was the political assembly of citizens of an ancient Greek state. So they're doing something with looping in Greek, not mythology necessarily, but Greek politicism at least.
Yeah.
And referring to a universal church and its international
there's
headquarters.
some European background with Max Heindel,
Mhm.
where he was from, I think. So yeah, we'll get into that in a little bit as well. But let me get into some of this. It says like some about the construction and the vision. Mount Ecclesia was founded after one of the elder brothers of the Rose Cross, known as the Teacher, suggested to Max Heindel, founder of the Rosicrucian Fellowship, that permeate headquarters be established to support the twin mission of the organization to spread the Rosicrucian teachings and to heal the sick according to the spiritual method delineated by the Order of the Rose Cross. On the winter solstice of 1910, the teacher gave Max Heindel a spiritual vision of the location through Jupiter consciousness, picture consciousness, spiritual vision, and telepathy, with the mission to find and start the work. So that's really interesting, right? That goes back, because like I was reading a little bit about this, and I think it goes into the Max Heindel stuff. He's like a clairvoyant, a seer, and
A soothsayer.
that's kind of how he was able to kind of find this location.
Yeah.
So what's your thoughts on that?
I was going to say, let's unpack that a little, because what's not lost on me is how specific they are with the dates.
Yes.
And the times even.
It will even...
Some of the shit is
winter
like...
solstice is obviously a big date.
Yeah.
So that's like a very key date. They did that purposefully, obviously. Yeah.
And what I didn't look up if it was winter solstice Gregorian calendar, winter solstice, astral calendar, or what? Like, that'd be interesting as well. But yeah, so when I was looking, I found that the teacher was the one that suggested to Max Heindel the location through all that stuff, which to me is basically not astral projection, but kind of like it's in that same vein how he was communicating where to find this place.
Yeah.
And like you had said, the permanent headquarters was to be established to support the twin mission of the organization, which was one, to spread the Rosicrucian teachings to deeper esoteric Christian mysteries, which was fucking weird. And then I think you had this quote exactly, heal the sick according to the spiritual method delineated by the Order of the Rose Cross.
Yeah.
So right now, I'm already seeing patterns. I'm seeing triangles, and I'm seeing twin or double or two towers or two pillars, which already reminds me of something that I'm not even looking into. It's just already presenting itself. And that was in researching when I kept seeing the teacher being capitalized. I was like, okay, I got to come back to that. Like, I'm in on this, on the church and the like all this stuff. I got to come back to whatever the hell that is, because it sounds like a supervillain. And
exactly.
I mean, that's how I would describe it.
Kind of what it feels
That's
like.
what it feels like at this point anyway.
Yeah, it's strange.
So then going off all of that, yeah, to spread the work, to heal the sick. And again, that reminds me of Quest Haven, where Flower was trying to heal people with religious teachings, with nature.
Yep.
And they were in a forest. This dude's on a hill. Like it's again like that tie of Christianity and nature
too, because it was up. It's kind of does it have like a 360-degree view? It looks like it. Which would be very significant, and just utilizing all of nature as as they say it's
as your
intended.
church, which like to an extent, like I agree with, like even my old church, shout out St. Michael's in Carlsbad, they had like a yearly retreat to some place in Southern California somewhere, but it was like designated for Christians to go and like do Christian shit and talk about spirituality and just be in nature, and so like that's cool. These dudes take it to almost like a pagan like zone,
exactly.
But like, I see where they're going. I see where they're coming from.
Especially, pagan, exactly. Witch, pagan, whatever, because they heavily rely on winter solstice, summer solstice. Yeah. That's what they kind of go off of, the calendar that they go off of and stuff. So that's really interesting. Yeah.
Which, again, that will present itself a little later in some of the shit I have written down. But after the teacher... I don't know, communicated to Max, I guess is the best way to say it, through means that I don't quite understand and don't really want to. Whatever the hell Jupiter consciousness is, I'm gonna have to look into that. Oh my god!
I know.
Like I'm
because if you listen to Sam Tripoli and Jupiter and Saturn,
I was gonna say I'm familiar with Saturn stuff. And see, like there's Sam, and then I go to Isaac Weishaupt, like conspiracy theories and unpopular culture. I'm like, he's the occult.
Well, there's always
he's the
lot
occult
of
god
now.
Yeah, I love when they do stuff together. But now I'm just fanboying. So let me get back. So after the teacher told Max to go find this place, he described it. Homeboy Max searched up and down the Pacific coast from San Diego to LA, for months. And then was like, fuck this, dude. I need a break. I'm going to we're going to go, me and my clique, we're going to go visit the mission. Maybe get some religious clarity, maybe just grab a bite to eat and chill amongst friends. Whatever. And as he was going there, this is all horse and buggy too. It's not like they were fucking chilling in a Corvette or anything. As they're going to the mission is when they find the grounds, and he's like, oh my god, this is what has been foretold. These are the grounds that I am to build the fucking Rosicrucian church.
Dude, they even have, like you said, with times, dude, shortly after 3 p.m. at 3:05 p.m. Like, what the heck? He signed the deed of the purchase and secured it with the down payment.
That was some fucking ritualistic shit. He waited till 3:05.
Yeah, what? 8, 5, yeah, 8. 8 has to be significant. 8 is
interesting.
Okay, according to numerology, 8 attracts money and wealth.
Weird.
So,
and he had to have somebody meet up with him to help buy the church. Because he was being instructed to do it by the teacher.
The teacher, yeah.
But he didn't have the cash. So it says he came back because he went to go buy it. Because it was for sale, the land, which is fucking weird that this is what he saw, then it was actually for sale. He went to go buy it, the place was closed, so he came back at a different date with like a financier, it sounds like, with someone money backing him.
Yeah.
And I didn't look into that guy because I was going hard on the grounds. That's what I was trying to focus on that, but
like we said,
all these offshoots, my goodness.
Can we even get into all of it? It's there's a lot to it. That is for sure.
Let me do one more thing. And then I'll let you do, or I would like for you to tell our audience about Max a little bit. But I wanted to say on the groundbreaking ceremony on Mount Ecclesia, 10/28, 1911. And it's funny because like the Quest Haven stuff and the Gypsies, all that shit was going on around the same time that this dude was trying to set up camp. So just North County was just a weird fucking place back then.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, it is now, sure. But like back then, holy crap. So Max and his fucking clique, his religious clique, they planted a large cross with the initials of CRC, which represents the Rosicrucian Church. And there's a picture that I'll post later, but it says that there's like 12 people, I think. But when you look at it more and you read the descriptions of what they had written, it says there's like 8 or 9 people and then 3 invisible leaders. So when they take the fucking picture, there's like open space where I guess these 3 invisible leaders were also with them overseeing this shit.
What?
Dude, I'll post the picture. Yeah. It's weird because there's like people here, and then in the middle like where you'd put the most prominent people. There's no one there, and they're like, oh yeah, there's 3 invisible leaders there, just chilling with us.
That's interesting. Let me read this a little bit more about the temple. It says the ecclesia is a solar temple facing the rising sun.
Oh, that was what I was going to do next.
Okay.
Yeah.
Columns combine Ionic, Doric, Corinthian, and Tuscan influences. The round building has a dome adorned by a golden globe. Ground was broken on the property in 1911 with designs by architect Lester Kramer. The round 12-sided building features round arches and narrow round inward windows. There is also a great dome crowned by a golden globe, cupola, and a final of lights. The temple was dedicated in 1920 and added to the historic register in 1995. The property also houses a bookstore and cafe, often offering a vegetarian lunch. Christian esoteric classes are also available. Guests touring any spiritual grounds are encouraged to maintain a respectful decorum and quiet demeanor at all times.
Which is funny because they had a fucking sanitarium there for a while, and I'm sure it was not quiet. But yeah, so
all of that is interesting.
It's all great. So touching on that, yeah, that caught my attention too, the solar temple. And what I was reading, they refer to the doors of the temple as a fucking portal. So yeah, it says the solar temple, the ecclesia portal, faces east, which when I was looking into masonry, which is always, they bury their dead facing east, at least traditionally, because that's where the Eastern Star rises, right? That's where the sun comes from. That's where the female offshoot of masonry, the Order of the Eastern Star, gets their name. So there's this.
That's the female mason?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, they can't be a Freemason.
Oh, no, I know that.
They can't be a legit one, so they have like their little woman offshoot
the wives
called,
of or whatever.
Yeah. Or it'll say OAE. Wait, Order of the OES, Order of the Eastern Star, and it's a fucking pentagram with different colors for each of the points.
Interesting.
Yeah, so again, repeated patterns, the same shit. The repetition of these ideals or the way that they do things. So the portal, the door of the temple, is facing east to face the rising star, and in front of the portal are 2 palm trees. So so here's the entrance, and then there's a palm here and a palm there. And again, there comes that repetition of the twins or the towers, or back to masonry, Boaz and Joaquin, which are the 2 portals. The two what?
Just put it right here.
What?
Yes.
Oh, you want to do it?
Oh, no, just so I can see too.
Okay.
Yeah.
So these palms are imitating Boaz and Joaquin, the 2 pillars of the Mason Church, which if you look up, Freemasonry, you know what I'm talking about. And in the actual construction of the church, on the entrance to the portal, there's a pillar on one side and a pillar on the other. There's a big triangle above you when you enter the portal. And in there, they have a triangle, and it says... What does it say? Where is it? Oh, there's an equilateral triangle inscribed by the Eye of God, which, if you're familiar with that term, can also be interchanged with the Eye of Providence, the all-seeing eye, and all of those things. So occult symbolism up the fucking ass.
Yeah.
But they're like, oh, we're Christian, we're mysticism.
Yeah.
But there's this repetition of occult shit and Mason shit, which again is like the same kind of stuff.
I don't understand how they can call themselves Christians. So it's like Christians do. Christians, from my understanding, like real true Christians, they believe the Bible word for word. Like that's what it is. They don't believe it's parables. They don't believe it's stories. Like if you truly believe in the Bible, you believe it's word for word. It's the word of God. I don't understand how all these other offshoots of religions can claim to be Christian, but then they even admit, no, we don't follow the Bible word for word. Like, because then it just gets into this like mixing of I can just make up whatever I want.
I mean, that's what that's what John Smith of fucking the Mormon Church did. That's what L. Ron Hubbard of Scientology did. They just make their own shit up, dude. Like, that dude from
but
10 Things Hate About You.
They're not claiming to be Christian. They're claiming to be their whole separate thing. This is the Rosicrucian Fellowship, and they claim to be this Christian mysticism offshoot type thing, but they're claiming Christianity. But then they'll even admit that, no, we don't necessarily believe exactly what the Bible's saying word for word. So it's like,
see, I look at religion, spirituality, whatever, as like training, like wrestling. Like you go to a wrestling school, you get trained. So in my upbringing, in my training of Christianity or introduction, it is Jesus is the lens through which you see God. That's like a Christian. I've always kind of taken the Bible literally, but from a young age, you're kind of told this is a book of lessons through which to lead your life. And I've heard it compared to like Aesop's fables, right? You're supposed to take something from it and move on. The literal and the non-literal interpretations go into like the philosophical side of it, which I think is where they have like their gray area to shoot off and do occultism.
Like their Bible verses that they he replied, "The knowledge of the mysteries of the kingdom of heaven has been given to you, but not to them."
That's insane.
I can say that. Yeah. I have the knowledge. He gave them to me, not to you. It says it right here in the Bible.
Right.
So I can now go write my own shit, and
if you tell 20 people, some of them will be like, yeah,
exactly.
This guy looks like Jesus. Like he has weird thoughts. I believe him. He's got a weird NASA shirt. I don't understand. And that's what's dangerous about people not looking into shit.
Yeah. But, exactly. Especially when you get into the teacher. But we'll get into Max Heindel first, right?
Yeah, let me do one more thing about the actual like construction of the temple, because I really want to fucking go there. So the inner portal, the inner portal of the temple's interior is ornamented with alchemical and astrological symbols. It's a solar temple dedicated to the coming age of Aquarius.
And we're in the age of Aquarius now.
I've heard that. I've heard it's past. I've heard we're in it. I've heard it's coming.
I've heard we're in it.
Yeah,
we're in it. I mean, 2020.
I think since Crowley did whatever the fuck he was doing back then, we've been in the age of Horus, age of Aquarius. Maybe it's the same fucking shit. I don't know. I've also heard the age of Aquarius is supposed to be the time of Jesus when Jesus comes back. I don't know what to believe, but yeah.
I don't know either.
But the fact that this allegedly partially Christian place has alchemical and astrological symbols adorning their globe-shaped fucking temple facing east, it's just like it's too much to look away from if you know what the red flags are or what indicators are of something more, something deeper.
These hidden societies.
Like,
all comes back from that type of stuff. Yeah.
Always.
Yeah.
And ever since I read Da Vinci Code, Rosicrucians have been on my radar as like a possible like, what the fuck is that? You know, up there with Knights Templar. Like, I gotta look into it.
Yeah.
But Reed, are you gonna go Max Heindel or the teacher?
Max Heindel.
Okay,
first,
cool.
Yeah. Max Heindel, born in Karl Louis von Grasshoff in Aarhus, Denmark.
Good lord.
Yeah. Probably butchered that. On July 23rd, 1865, was a Danish-American Christian occultist, astrologer, and mystic. He died on January 6, 1919 at Oceanside, California, United States.
Outside, baby.
He was born into the noble family von Grasshoff, which was connected to the German court during the lifetime of Prince Bismarck. The father of Max Heindel migrated to Copenhagen when he was a young man and married a Danish woman of a noble birth.
Noble birth.
The father died when the eldest son was 6 years of age, leaving the mother and 3 small children in a strained circumstances. Max Heindel's infancy was thus lived in poverty. Some of his life experiences. Heindel left home at the age of 16 to learn engineering at the shipyards of Glasgow, Scotland.
Ooh, that's where Drew McIntyre's from. Glasgow Kiss.
As chief engineer of a trading steamer, he traveled extensively and eventually found himself working on one of the larger passenger steamers between America and Europe. From 1895 to 1901, he was consulting engineers in New York City. During this time, he married, the marriage being terminated by the death of his wife in 1905. A son and 2 daughters were born of this marriage. In 1903, he moved to Los Angeles, California, seeking work. After attending lectures by the Theopist C.W. Leadbeater, he joined the
Theosophical,
thank you, Society of Los Angeles, which he became vice president in 1904 and 1905. He also became a vegetarian and began the study of astrology, which he felt gave him the key to unlocking the mysteries of man's inner nature. Um,
Which is what?
yeah.
Sin? Good?
He met his future wife, Augusta Foss, around this time. However, overwork and privatation bought him severe heart trouble in 1905, and for months he lay at the point of death. Upon his recovery, he said he was more keenly aware of the needs of humanity. He said he spent much of his time during this illness out of his body, consciously working and seeking for the truth as he might find it on the invisible plane.
Yo, what?
That's pretty crazy, right? He got sick and then just kind of
So he had a near-death experience in which he claims to have gained experience from the invisible plane. Great.
yeah. From 1906 to 1907, he started a lecture tour in order to spread his occult knowledge. He began in San Francisco and then went to Seattle after a course of lectures. In that city, he was again forced to spend some time in a hospital with vulvar heart trouble. Upon his recovery, still undaunted, he once more took up his work of lecturing in the northwestern part of the United States. So that's kind of the start of it. It's pretty interesting.
Yeah, it's weird. And I was reading something, and the people that were taking a picture at Mount Ecclesia, one of them was from Portland, Oregon, and it said he was chilling in the Northwest.
Yeah.
So picked up some followers, maybe.
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
So weird, dude. Like, where did he get the money for all this shit? It was the early 1900s. He was broke with a heart problem, and he's just traveling the world. Must be nice.
Yeah, well, he was an engineer, and that's how he said, he's working on that stuff. It said that's how he was able to travel, just doing that type of work on the shipyards.
Weird.
That's what he said. But let's get into this Heindel-Steiner connection. Steiner is the teacher, from my understanding.
Okay.
So this says current research on the connections between the two seers, Max Heindel and Rudolf Steiner, describes that he, Heindel, felt that what Steiner was doing was not appropriate for America, where pragmatist and clear linear thinking is predominant, and that he did not find what he was looking for there, a Western-oriented spirituality that was accessible to the general public.
Weird.
It also described that Heindel's magnum opus, having a more far-reaching body of teachings, contains information not otherwise available in the public domain or available without super sensible perception of an advanced degree. This body of teaching, Western wisdom teachings, was further developed in Heindel's subsequent investigation and work, and is not available in Steiner or any other sources, as it contains material and specific clairvoyant accounts not to be found elsewhere in any occult sources. Thus, it is concluded through the available sources that, quote, the similarities are due to a common source to both men, Rosicrucian influences and teachers.
What the fuck, dude? So that dude just sit around astral projecting and fucking talking to spirits and disembodied deities and all that shit, and then it was like, okay, my mission is clear now. That's
Crazy,
insane.
right?
It's pretty crazy. But it also sounds like every other religious story that you hear. Again, going back to Mormonism, John Smith saw an angel, right? That he couldn't prove to anybody else. And L. Ron Hubbard was out there in the desert with, what's his name, Parsons, doing fucking science experiments and summoning of demons. So, like, it sounds like everything else that turns into a religion. It's really weird.
Yeah. Let's just get into this brief last little paragraph here. From 1909 to 1919, suffering a severe heart condition and with an adverse financial situation, but with an indomitable will and great energy, Max Heindel was able to accomplish the great work for the Brothers of the Rose Cross with the help, support, and inspiration of his wife, Augusta Foss, to whom in August 1910, he was joined in marriage. He gave successful teachings and lectures. He sent correspondence lessons to the students, who formed groups in many of the larger cities. He wrote volumes which are translated into many languages all over the world. He founded the Rosicrucian Fellowship in 1909 to 1911 at Mount Ecclesia in Oceanside. So we went through all that. It is described that at his death, his body dropped slowly, as if loving hands were holding him, laying him down gently as he looked up, smiling into Miss Heindel's face. He spoke his last words, "I'm all right, dear." That's a nice ending. I like that.
That sounds
Final
weird.
words, even though it could be all made up, but it's a good ending.
I know. What is this from? Who wrote this? Because this
Because
shit sounds like it's putting him on a pedestal, kind of. And it mentioned that he was,
it's all coming from the Wikipedia page, but it's from this lady, Ashley Ann Lewis, and it's from the National Paranormal Society.
weird. They definitely seem like they're putting him up on a pedestal. And they mentioned the great work, which is something I've heard, again, with other secret societies like the Masons.
Yeah.
So that's same work? Same. Are they co-workers? What
Yeah.
is that? Same
Yeah.
shit?
So did you want to get into this guy?
Rudolf Steiner?
Yeah.
Yeah, but let me read something real quick.
Yeah.
So they did June 29th, 1920. Again, they have the exact times from 11:55 until 12:02 p.m. Okay, so they were, let me just read it. This is from the church, from their recordings.
Yeah.
Around or over the place where the ground was being broken for the ecclesia were 4 large searchlights. And I should back up real quick and say, when they broke ground, they did, again, similar to masonry, cornerstone thing, ritual thing, take a picture, do all that shit, right? So we're going back to that spot, but it's sometime later. So there's searchlights. They faced north, south, east, and west. The one facing south seemed to be situated about 7 feet from the one facing north. The same was true of the 2 facing east and west. So we have searchlights about 7 feet apart, creating a space in the middle, right? In between all the searchlights. The faces of the searchlights appeared about 12 inches in diameter. The one facing south was the first to radiate light, next the one to the east, then the west, and lastly, the one facing north. The light was pure white and radiated in such a way that at about 50 paces, the rays from each fused with those to either side of it, so that beyond this point, all space was flooded with a light of great brilliancy. Okay, so they're doing some light work. Then from out the place where the ground was broken, within the circle made by the searchlights, a rich golden color cloud formed. It grew rapidly, and after passing and unclosing the searchlights, it tinted every ray emanating therefrom. Then, all that was brilliantly white became softened and mellowed, and the whole space became an entrancing vision. At this moment, a rainbow overarched the place, one end resting upon the ground to the east, the other upon the ground to the west. In another moment, beneath the arched rainbow, out from where the ground was broken, where they broke ground, and from whence the cloud of gold had come, came a cloud of blue, the ray of the Father, the healing ray. It enveloped the earth and filled the firmament. Then all passed away. At this instant, in our midst appeared the all-seeing eye. Then it vanished, and our prayers ceased, our purpose having been accomplished.
Whoa.
What the fuck is that shit?
Yeah, what is that?
That's my pipe bomb. That's where I was like, I'm fucking done. This is like crazy. So they basically said in the place where they did a ritual to break ground for this fucking weird occulty church, they went back and basically summoned a demon or 2 or 3. And then there was the all-seeing eye, and they mentioned the firmament, which was awesome.
Yeah.
And then it was all gone because their prayers had been answered. Everything had been accomplished. What the fuck was that? That was intense, right?
Where is that from? Where did you see that?
So it's from Wikipedia, but it's from from the Rosicrucian Church's like recordings.
Okay.
You know, like, hey, this
One
is
of their teachings.
this is what we did. Yeah, like
Gotcha.
the history, like their history books almost.
Yeah.
What
I do find interesting about them and their whole thing is like they don't charge money for membership or anything like that, but what they do is, hustle those books and things like that. So
and I've read it's free.
It's free, but I guarantee they're like, it's free, but you have to buy a book.
Comes with the price.
Yeah. So
when I was younger, we did go there drunk. A few people I know were like, let's get drunk and go there. And I was like, that doesn't sound good, but whatever. And there were people walking around and they didn't hassle us. It was like middle of the night. We were trash. We're on that fucking plateau that looks over and they didn't care.
Interesting.
I know. they're probably like, yes, sin,
Yeah.
sin.
You'll find us. No, I just think it's interesting because, you know, in Encinitas, there's the Fellowship Garden. And I don't know if it's anything similar or whatever, but there's like a Buddhist temple or something connected with it or something, some sort of
Yeah,
thing.
Encinitas, we need to look into that one too.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It should be the next one of these
Good Lord.
that we get into. But when it comes to spirituality and these types of things, I've seen it so many times where they don't charge, but they really push the books and the teachings, and that's the stuff you have to buy. And it's like, I remember going into the place in Encinitas, just checking it out one time, like with family, just walking by, and like they make you feel uncomfortable if you're just looking. You know what I mean? Yeah, it just felt like a pressure, like you have to buy, support us, like we're here. You know what I mean? And I just feel like that's kind of gonna be a similar thing, because yeah, they're like, they make it clear there's no membership, no fees, nothing like that, but we have all these books, we have all these teachings, check them out and all that. So it's seems very typical of the spirituality movement or offshoot type thing, you know? Like,
that makes sense.
I don't see churches pushing books like that.
That makes sense.
Besides the Bible, you know, I'm sure there's Christian books, and you know, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that, but they're pushing their teachings as books. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I guess any sort of kind of a, not grassroots, but any kind of under the radar kind of movement, like Common Sense by Thomas Paine. That was a pamphlet that they had to hand out. I was actually reading. Did you know that the Rosicrucian Church has their own printing press there?
No.
Yeah. So to your point about just fucking spreading that, I don't want to say propaganda, but kinda about spreading it. In 1912, they generated so much mail that they were sending out to the, because it's the international headquarters. They're sending all this mail to all the Rosicrucian people around the world, that the federal government opened Oceanside's first post office.
Oh, wow.
And
so
that's
they were...
dude, they were hammering out so much mail that the government was like, yo, you got to put a post office in the dirty O, because this shit's crazy. So that post office on Seagaze, it's right across the street from, I don't know, that fucking weird beer pizza place that's there now. Down the street from the high school, there's an old office, or an old post office that I think is a restaurant now. I think they do pizza there too. I don't know.
Yes.
Italian place.
Yes.
Close to the transit center.
Yeah.
It's right there. That was opened specifically because the Rosicrucian Church was hammering out so much paper.
They were doing the job better than the federal service.
Yeah.
Almost like history is repeating itself. Damn post office bullshit going on right
Bitching
now.
all the time.
And with
No, I'm just
how
like,
many
I don't care.
how many people have been complaining about the post office up until just a month ago?
That's what annoys me.
And now they're like, no, we need the post office. We need the post office.
Send a letter
like,
to all of your friends.
Oh my
I'm
God.
like, dude, what? And then, so yeah, anyway, that's some stupid shit. Let's stay on the interesting shit.
So let's get into this.
Yeah.
What's his name? Rudolf Steiner or Steiner? Rudolph?
Steiner?
I don't know. Steiner Rudolph. He's from 1861 to 1925. He's a philosopher, artist, scientist, and educator who developed the spiritual science of anthropos.
Where you at?
Right here.
I can't even see it.
Anthropos. Blending occultism, esoteric Christianity, and elements of another thing that I am not going to try and pronounce. At one point in his life, Rudolf Steiner faced a serious inner struggle with the forces of darkness. So that kind of that's kind of why I wanted to get into some of this. I had it highlighted and then I had to highlight that. Man.
I can tell you some more fun facts if you want to vamp.
Yeah.
So Max Heindel, great creator of the fucking Rosicrucian Church over in Oceanside, I'll post pictures later, but everyone, you got to see where this thing is physically, like geographically located, because it's on top of a hill, right? And then right underneath that hill is the old junkyard. I don't even know what the name is anymore. It used to be Ecology back in the day. There's that junkyard, but there's that big hill. And one of Max's visions that hasn't come to fruition just yet is that he wants that whole hill to basically be built into like a theater. I think he wants like kind of a Hollywood Bowl kind of a looking thing, but he specifically stated he wanted to build it into the side of the hill for church performers with a spiritual message and occult truths. So he wasn't even being shy about the fact that he was blending occult ideologies with Christianity. It was just kind of out there and part of what he was doing, and everyone, I don't know if everyone was just buying into it or if they came from the Order of the Rose Cross, which kind of branched off into the Rosicrucian Church over here. I'm not sure exactly what those people were doing, but this dude had a vision for the whole area, and I wouldn't be surprised if that vision of building the theater into the side of the hill was also told to him by some disembodied entity or being.
Yeah. Okay, so I found what I was going to get to, but we'll also get into a little bit of his background as well. This is Rudolf Steiner.
Rudolf Steiner.
Yeah.
Steiner recliner.
This says Steiner was born to Austrian parents on February 27, 1861 in Hungary. His father, a railway clerk, hoped Rudolf would become a railway civil engineer, but an early manifestation of psychic gifts set him on a different path. Steiner began to experience clairvoyance at the age of 8. When he was 19, an adept whose identity was never released initiated him into the occult. Steiner joined the Theosophical Society and was active for about a decade before becoming disillusioned with the internal rivalries and pettiness, and with its emphasis on Eastern mysticism.
Oh, what the hell? How do you get initiated into the occult? Who does that? Who has the authority to do that shit? What do you fucking kill a goat and a chicken and pray to the devil? I don't understand. Maybe I don't want to understand.
Late 1800s, man.
Oh, they were killing animals for sure. It was just
going on.
They're out in the woods killing animals and shit, dancing naked around flames and shit.
Yeah.
Fucking witches.
Yeah. Super strange. But this is kind of the stuff that I wanted to get into. It did say he struggled with darkness and stuff. And
darkness.
There's like a ton of Luciferic and that type of stuff within his background. It says Luciferic and Armanic beings. Steiner called beings that encourage destruction through vices Luciferic spirits. Still, other spirits wish people to remain mirrored in a materialistic, mechanistic world. These spirits Steiner called Armanic beings, after Armenian, the Persian personification of evil. He links Lucifer with the air and warmth, and Armenian with earth and cold. The changes of the seasons reveal the eternal struggles between the two forces.
That's crazy. And this is the dude we think is the teacher.
This is the teacher.
This is the teacher. Oh my god. So he was into some dark shit.
Yeah.
Holy.
That's what I was saying. Like once I saw like who this teacher was, I was like, I gotta.
Oh, go to that picture.
Which picture?
Go back to that page, and then the other one you're on. I think it was a wiki page, and then see that cross.
Oh yes.
That's the picture where there's those three.
Oh,
I'll post it. I'll post it, homeboys and girls.
Gotcha.
It's a trip. And then at some point, the teacher, which now I think we've identified as Steiner recliner guy, told Max to paint the cross white because it was initially black, and he's like, you don't want anyone to confuse it with any unfortunate associations. Yeah. So, knowing that people were going to associate it with darkness, which it seemingly was representing indirectly, and then he deliberately was trying to throw people off of that. And you know what I didn't touch on the whole time real quick? Is how they want. Well, actually, we kind of said they wanted to use it for spreading the church and healing people.
Yeah.
So they try to heal these people, what that they described as suffering from non-contagious diseases.
Yes.
And I could not find the shit that I read when I was 16 because it was this part of the story, but from like
would that be like mental health stuff?
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
So it was from like almost like a humanities perspective, where it was like, hey, this fucking religious guy came here, bought this land, built this shit. He wanted to heal people with religion. He couldn't. And so it had to build a fucking sanitarium. Yeah. And it was in disrepair, and people were fucking dying, and there's shit everywhere inside, which like makes sense. You know what I mean? Like they didn't know what the fuck they were doing as far as like people with disabilities and people with mental health issues were going. And so they probably just were like, fuck it, we can't do it. They're just give them a place to live and they'll die here. And they did. Like it was not a fucking cool place. That sanitarium is no longer a sanitarium, but it still stands on those grounds.
What is a sanitarium? I think
I
know what that is.
It's like a place where they used to put people that they labeled crazy, or we can't fix you.
Gotcha.
So like if there was like an adult with autism back in the 40s, sanitarium. If there's somebody
so what's
with
the difference between that and like an insane asylum or a mental
different names?
institution? Okay, same
so
thing.
back in the day it was sanitarium, 50s, 60s it was like an insane asylum, and now it's like a, oh god, what is it called now? It's like a really really like nice term for it, but
yeah.
oh my god, I can't remember the politically correct terms anymore.
Yeah.
I used to be able to,
Yeah.
but yeah, the term kind of changes throughout the ages because it didn't sound nice to call it a sanitarium anymore.
Yeah.
But they treat them just like shit, like they used to. So which again, Quest Haven, they were trying to heal people with the sickness, same shit
type of thing, exactly.
Was there a fire? Was there not?
Yeah, super fascinating.
Were they sacrificing people? That's what I'm like. If they have all these people with mental health issues and disabilities, and they're like, we can't fucking heal these guys. Let's just, dude.
Yeah.
Or fucking eugenics, dude. Maybe they were like, okay, give us all the people that no one can fix, that aren't going to procreate, no one cares about. Let's get rid of them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or maybe that was part of it. I don't know.
So let me read this. It says Steiner faced serious inner battles with evil forces and felt that his ultimate victory over them was his immersion in the esoteric mysteries of Christ. He warned that the spiritual path to higher consciousness entails such battles. He noted that people strongly resist taking responsibility to fight on the inner plane, preferring to project the battle out onto imagined enemies.
The unseen enemy.
Every 1,000 years, as a new millennium approaches, Luciferic and Armanic beings make particularly strong attacks on human progress. Our fear and projection make us increasingly susceptible to spiritual debasement, mental slavery, and mass hysteria. Wow, man, that's interesting.
Is that what's going on now?
Dude, that's what I was about to say, right?
Yeah, we're off the lunar calendar. Maybe the lunar calendar, this is the new millennia, and that's the shit going on.
Yeah.
What?
That's crazy,
Mass
right?
hysteria? When was that dancing disease?
Mental slavery?
Shit.
Like, that's what everybody's in, and now the mass hysteria.
We think we're so advanced with fucking iPads and shit, and it's all the same stuff.
What's spiritual debasement? I've never heard of that term.
It sounds like S&M for your religious thoughts is what it sounds like, but I don't know, and I'm afraid to Google it.
It says Steiner thought the greatest challenge of the modern age is to understand the polarity between Lucifer and Why do you have to like? Why is it these two? Why is it evil that you are like struggling with? Like two personifications of evil. Why isn't it good? Like I don't understand. Modern consciousness understands the polarity between God and the devil and heaven and hell. To strive toward either extreme is not good. Humanity must find balance in the middle.
Dude, that, and again, back to fucking secret societies and occult shit, the balance in the middle, the good and evil, the being whole, instead of just being good, a lot of these people want to be whole, which means good and evil, which is why I think they don't give a shit about raping kids and killing people and fucking the world over and all that stuff, because they're like, I have to be good and evil, so fuck it, I'll fuck a kid or whatever, and you know, that's how it goes.
Yeah.
That's fucking weird.
Yeah,
It seemed like he was trying to be a good guy.
Exactly.
Or is that okay? Right.
No. So that's what's really interesting because it seemed like there was a battle between everybody involved, like mentally, spiritually, because I think this guy, Steiner, struggled with that darkness, and I don't know if it was in that time he was doing his teachings to Max Heindel, and so he could have been passing off some of this darkness to him. And then that's when Max Heindel split off, was like, I don't like what you're doing. But then he switched his whole thing and, you know, created this, the Rosicrucian. And then it sounds like Steinberg kind of overcame his evilness. You know what I mean? But it's still personifying the two as evil and saying not to look or strive for good and heaven and hell, and it's somewhere in the middle. I don't know. It's
the
really
lesser of two evils.
It's really interesting.
That is insane. So I have it as winter solstice 1910 is when the teacher told Max, like, go find this area of land.
Let me see.
Yeah, let's see when he was dark into the demons.
Yeah, so it was around that time, 1913. Like, he was doing that dark stuff. So, yeah, he probably passed along some knowledge that he was like, oh, I'm not with that. That's some other shit. and then he went off and kind of did his own.
Which makes
thing
sense because
with
the Rosicrucian
knowledge
Church
that
is
he
bad
knows.
anyway. I think.
Yeah.
I think we just cracked it.
Yeah, super strange.
That's insane. I didn't get to any of that shit. I got so hung up on like where the temple is and where it faces and all that. Like like
dude, no, but as soon as I
That's
saw this
awesome.
guy's name, I was like, who is that guy? The teacher. Like, I had to look him up right away. I was like, stop everything else you're looking at
Yeah.
and see who is behind.
that's funny.
Who's behind it?
Because
you
I
know?
saw that and I was like, no, stay focused and do
On
this.
this.
And then you
Yeah,
branched off.
yeah.
All right, we got it covered.
Exactly.
So
That's why we work good as a team.
Bipolar Express. Did you see anywhere on like the wiki pages or whatever where it referred to like the teacher Steinberg or Steiner? Did it say that specifically? Because I did when I was reading through just like the wiki stuff and like the Rosicrucian website, I didn't see them name him as a teacher. Not that I doubt it.
Yeah.
But I'm like kind of wondering why did they not give him credit as the teacher?
Yeah, I'd have to read through more of it for sure.
I think if it wasn't that obvious, if it wasn't that obvious, then I feel like it's kind of they're trying to hide it a little.
Maybe, right? Because
Just
of the
shroud
dark,
it?
Because of the dark history of that guy, that would kind of make sense. That would make sense. Yeah, I'm not seeing
Weird.
his name kind of pop up in anything right here.
So they just give him a weird fucking name like the teacher with a capital T, and like that's not supposed to intrigue us.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe that's on purpose too. Maybe they're like, okay, the weirdos are gonna see that there's something up, and they're gonna dig deeper.
Yeah,
It's consent. Shit, I consented.
Oh yeah, this is on that National Paranormal Society. That's where it says the Heinel Steiner connection. So
A whole society.
I'm on this whole other offshoot of stuff. You know what I mean? So
Wacko.
who knows? Who knows? But
Dude, I think we
it
fucking
does
blew this
seem
one out of the water.
Yeah, it seems like they're trying to kind of hide that connection. It seems like there was a battle or a riff or beef, whatever you want to call it, between Heindel and Steiner, and they kind of went off and did their separate things. It seems like they were kind of really close at one point, and that's why there's probably some similarities between the teachings. I think Steiner was doing the same thing, selling books and selling teachings and doing that whole thing. So there's a lot of similarities, a lot of crossover, but I think Heindel saw some of that darkness and was like, nah, but then still is kind of, I still don't trust this as well. You know what I mean? Like they're still rooted in that occultism and symbolism, and like you said, the dates and times they have really mapped out.
I bet
that
you.
has to be for a purpose.
Yes. But Heindel, it seemed like Heindel wanted to make like a SoCal laid back version of the occult. It's like instead of big ass serious pillars out front, it's two palm trees and like the doors facing the sun. It's
But
chill.
it's the portal.
But yeah, it's the portal. That's a trip. Well, I'm glad we crammed it all into an hour.
Yeah, I think there's obviously more.
There's for sure.
A ton more of information on it. I was like, wow, this is crazy. Like,
So this is
I
definitely.
couldn't just take notes. I was like, this would be crazy because there's too many different offshoots.
I don't have a fucking computer, so I'm brick and mortar. I'm old,
Yeah,
so I have to.
exactly.
But this is definitely going to be another one where when people are allowed to fucking go places and leave their houses and walk around again, we're gonna have to go do a walk around to this place.
Definitely.
Maybe talk to some people, get some of that literature.
Yeah.
Cause like I said, I've been there before as a dumb drunk kid. And it was creepy and it was fun, but I want to go back now and like actually poke around, see some shit.
Yeah.
I would love to see the inside of the temple and what the weird astrology alchemical stuff on the walls looks like.
Yeah.
But I'm also kind of scared. So bring a vial of holy water with me.
Yeah. So Quest Haven we gotta get to once we figure out if somebody ever reaches back out to you. And
somebody emailed me and said like basically we're closed for now. We want to be open soon.
Okay.
Keep checking back.
Cool. So as soon as they open, we'll get to that. We're gonna check this one out when possible. The next one I think we should do is that thing in Encinitas I was telling you about. I'll find some more information on the name of it, the exact information.
Hallowed Grounds Part 3 will be in Encinitas. I'm loving this like subcategory of stuff we have.
But next week or next time we should get into some current events, current situations, politics, all that kind of stuff.
We should have
a lot has been going on, so
I think we might need help. I think we might need someone on the street
someone on the street who's in the chat right now. I see.
I really want to know about Trump. I want to know what's going on with Trump, and I think we might need some help with that.
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll see.
We'll see what happens. But yeah, make sure to tune in to Cult of Person.